Here's a fun historical fact. When the founders wrote the Constitution, the environment meant horse manure on city streets, and pollution was a guy sneezing in your general direction. They didn't imagine a world where a factory in Ohio could kill a reef in Florida, or where a Texas wildfire could choke a kid in Kansas. Here's the thing about nature. It doesn't give a damn about your borders, your party, or your press conference. The founders drew lines on a continent. Nature didn't sign that contract. Wildfire smoke doesn't check passports. Rivers don't stop at state lines to file an environmental impact statement. And the atmosphere is the least patriotic thing on earth. We love to chant states' rights like it's holy scripture. It sounds noble right up until your neighbor's deregulation poisons your river, or until the smoke from one state's deregulation chokes another's school district. And national sovereignty? Great concept, except the atmosphere didn't get that memo. The climate doesn't stop at customs. The jet stream doesn't stop at the border to salute the flag, and you can't build a wall high enough to keep out carbon dioxide. When the drought hits Texas, or the flood hits Louisiana, or the smoke from California burns its way into Arizona, nobody's pulling out the 10th Amendment for comfort. We act like liberty lives inside a map. Meanwhile, nature's out there playing Calvin ball, and it's winning. Every side pretends they've got the high ground. Red states cry liberty, blue states cry regulation, and meanwhile, the planet's having a full-blown autoimmune reaction to humanity's abject stupidity. Let's be honest, the Constitution was written when the environment meant wood, water, and horse manure, and energy policy was more firewood. Jefferson worried about British muskets, not microplastics. Hamilton wrote about tariffs, not temperature charts. It's a brilliant document for restraining tyrants, but a terrible one for restraining ourselves. They designed checks and balances for political power, not for planetary survival, which means that we can impeach a president for lying, but not a company for boiling the Gulf of America. It does nothing about what we're doing to the biosphere, and that keeps all of these governments breathing. We built a system that can stop a king, but not a heat wave. It can filibuster a bill to death, but can't filibuster a hurricane. Congress can spend weeks naming a post office after a dead guy, but it can't pass a functional, modern energy grid update without selling out to lobbyists first by turning it into a corporate scavenger hunt. We're stuck running an 18th century operating system on 21st century hardware, and the blue screen of death is getting awfully literal. That's not governments, that's constitutional cosplay. If we're writing a 21st century constitution, it's time to admit that the state cannot contain global physics. But we also can't trust DC with a blank check called climate emergency. So how do you balance liberty with planetary survival? That's the constitutional question. Real liberty doesn't mean the freedom to pollute. It means not being poisoned, flooded, or burned because your neighbor's governor thinks science is a liberal conspiracy. It means your kids can drink the water without taking a chemistry final. It means free market that actually prices the damage it causes, not one that hides behind subsidies and slogans. It means your community isn't bankrupted every time hurricane season hits, while DC argues about whose donors are more patriotic. Because liberty without accountability isn't freedom, it's just vandalism with better PR. And if you think the leave it to the market is the whole answer, congratulations. You've just handed global stability to the same geniuses who thought deregulating the power grid in Texas was innovation. Liberty isn't just the right to be left alone. It's the right to still have a planet to be left alone on. And here's the kicker. We don't fix this by handing the keys to bureaucrats or billionaires. We fix it by rewriting the framework, not micromanaging nature, but to demand competence, accountability, and honesty from the people pretending to govern it. The founders promised us self-government, but the 21st century demands self-preservation. It's not about left or right. It's about stupid versus sustainable. Maybe it's time for a modern constitutional convention, not to rewrite freedom, but to future-proof it. Not to replace liberty, but to save it from extinction. Because if the Constitution can't stop a wildfire, a flood, or a lie, do we really have a government of the people, or just a very expensive reenactment? What do you think? Could the 21st century Constitution actually balance liberty and survival? Drop it in the comments. Let's find out who's serious about freedom and who just likes the sound of it.